All right, all right.
See, someone say something.
No, I'm sure this is, sorry,
The mute button.
All right,
Mute
we
button.
now have sound?
I believe we know, so.
All right, let's continue on.
All right. Thank you for whoever texted you, the one person watching. So the health department, perfect attendance, a lot of employees get perfect attendance. The health department is very healthy, they all got it. But they have such a tiny little budget that their budget is primarily salary, so there was no place else to take it from, and that's why they are singled out there. And then Brookfield Fire Company, that their original budget for the EMS was 903. And if you remember, that was the year that I thought we had double accounted for some of the things, and we cut the budget for salaries, just for the accounting, not the rates or anything like that. We knew that, or we thought that we may have to add some back, but we would wait and see how revenues did. Well, they did great. The budget was 903. The salaries, we could have cut some, but not as much as we did, but the revenues covered some. So the actual was 867. So EMS came in 35,000 under budget. That's great. They run a tight ship. The volunteer fire had a budget of 440. If we pay all the bills for last year, and right now they're all in the financial statements, the actual is 487. They could use some of the underage that the EMS had to cover the overage that the fire had. If we want to cover all their bills, that's 11,780 that we would need to add to their combined budget. And in the drafts, I have added that to the combined budget. The only reason I bring that up is that we want to acknowledge that Candlewood has never asked for more money. And it's like having two kids. I just want to point that out, that we're doing this for one of our children. If you choose to do that,
As my wife says, each child is different. So
yes.
you have to treat each child different.
And we are.
My opinion, and we'll talk about this now, is we've asked the Center Fire to come into our house, expose their books to us, and work closer with Marcia. We don't want to now whack them with a sledgehammer over the head. We're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right? So why would we want to make it now a roadblock for us to head in the right direction? The communication seems better, right? We have a change in command there. I get one child doesn't ask and one child does. I understand that. But for me, for this kind of amount of money and we're heading in the right direction, I'd rather give good faith and keep heading in the right direction, because this faith to me will save us in the long run. We'll gain the trust, we'll gain the respect, we'll gain everything that we are trying to accomplish.
Agreed, but I think we should definitely look at the future and plan for the future, because it is 10%.
It
It is
is
more than 10%.
It is more than 10%, and I think some of that was a layover from prior. We didn't really start getting close until halfway through the year, right?
And I think that I need to point out, and I should point out in their defense, this is also a conversion of cash basis to accrual basis.
Oh.
So there's 13 months of the volunteer stipends in there. That they kept their books on a cash basis. We have them on an accrual. And EMS, they pay every week, so there should be 52 pay periods, and there's 53 because of that. So fire, it's part of that overage is maybe 10,000 of that overage is due to cash versus accrual.
Still 7%. I mean, we're still a good sized number.
I do think we're in the right direction, but we do need to work more on this. We do need to go deeper and understand and say, how can we make this more predictable and more, you know.
Right, and I think they're more open to that right now.
Yes.
So I definitely hear what you're saying, but we've never had quite this kind of communication so far. So I think, and that, I guess you said it more eloquently than I did, this is part of keeping that communication open so we can get there. If we whack them, you're not gonna get to that next layer of communication or cooperation.
Yeah, and I think that they're working internally with the fire side, that limiting the number of people that can order things, pushing more for the budgetary controls with purchase orders before they purchase. We had moved a part-timer to a full-timer, and I think that's going fabulously. I think they agree. Hopefully this is the one time we see it.
I feel confident that we're getting there. I do. I feel a positive motion is happening right now, and that's my opinion. Brian?
I agree that we should do the transfer as is suggested. I do think, kind of to Nahid's point, we should ask for a more detailed view of what the $47,000 overage was. You know, was it, we missed some things in the budgeting, that happens first time for sure. Is it they overspent areas where, you know, okay, they gotta learn to control that better,
Correct.
or something else, right? So I
Correct.
think just saying, okay, and moving on is not the right thing. We gotta get
Perfect.
the next level of detail to understand, for all of us, and them to understand what caused this so that
Perfect.
it's controlled better.
Perfect. Brianna?
And we have that data in our own system now that we could gather that.
Eileen? Any comments? Mary? All right.
So right now, the data that you have has all of it covered.
And this will go, same thing, go through the board of selectmen as a,
Correct.
so next month we'll vote on this.
Correct.
Okay.
But that's everything that was an inter-fund transfer where a department needed more money and why they needed more money. Projected fund balance that were slightly different than where we thought we'd be, not much. But if we take out 810,000 and move to capital, we were wondering what that number would be last year. That if we move 810, that allows us to do it as a transfer without being an additional appropriation. Our fund balance would go from 19.4% to 19.33%. And so I
we
think.
went down.
No, 19.04.
Oh,
No,
19.0.
Okay, sorry. I was like, where's it at?
Oh, you
I'm
can
looking,
read.
I'm looking.
I'm listening. I'm
My
listening.
eyes work long
Yeah.
distance.
19.04.
Well done, nice.
I only heard .4.
I just
Me
too.
too.
Wait, we went down.
She did say, but
I
then
did say
I
that.
saw the number there.
So my math went right to that's down.
Yeah, no, so it has gone up, that,
That's great.
So now this is including the 50,000 in revenue extra that we found?
so the 50, any extra revenue is making that percent higher.
Right.
It's not increasing the number in yellow because we can, well, if we wanted, right now, we're only taking underspends to make up that 810,000. And if we want to take everything, I could probably find 25,000 more if I
I
take.
don't want to take any more.
All right, but we're only taking underspends, we're not doing any additional appropriation. We've got limits on additional appropriation of what we can do, before it goes to a town meeting, and we just don't like to do additional appropriations, other than our scheduled one of the excess revenue, which,
So out of that 810, how much have we committed?
right now, we haven't committed any.
Well, what are we talking about committing? We had a number that was out there.
I think Brian had 300 and something.
Around 300, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have to commit it all at one time. What I'm recommending is we do it in 2 transactions this year. Instead of saying we want to transfer 810 and move it to these 15 items, because the financial statements are done and the auditors have gone through them, that I'd like to say for a year-end 25 transaction, we move the 810. For a year-end 26 transaction, we allocate the 810 to wherever we want to. And that would also allow us to move it throughout the year, and we don't have to do it all in the same transaction at the next
Should
meeting.
move 810 to contingency, basically?
Correct. Correct.
So out of that eight, okay, I get that, and I can follow the logic. So out of that 810, we've done 300,000, so that gives us $500,000 to figure out if we have any strategic capital needs.
We've used that for strategic capital needs, and we've also used it to, that's the money that we have used to flatten the debt bubble, or to use to adjust when we needed to do that.
So, just remind me, so that, the number of, what do we call that? Available fund balance to do those funding things, entering this year, how much was it? I thought it was,
I think it's like 1.3 million
That-
that,
that rings a bell.
grant. Entering this year, it was 1,563,000. That we used 90 because we took money out of, we weren't gonna fund those roofs with ARPA, we were gonna do this instead. We used some to close out some projects, 39,000, so that would bring us about down to 1.4 million. We closed a bunch of projects, or we're proposing that in our next transfers, which would add 311,000 to it. The big one from there is we had money set aside for, this is on the one with the pink highlight. We had money set aside for 250,000 for that electrical, the electricity needs, when Eversource came in July 1st last year and said it's going up. So that's the biggest part of the 311. So with this 810, we'd be up to 2.556.
Of which we had talked about 300, so if we did that, so 300, get 2.7.
So can you go to the live screen of that Excel sheet,
I can,
please?
I can.
I'm not barking our orders on, please.
No, I heard the bark.
I know, but I felt bad about it, actually. I felt
I
bad.
don't mean to. That's what happened.
All right, so it's this one here.
So what if we moved that down to 500, only took 500? What's it gonna do to our general fund?
Oh, not that live one. And, 19.75.
We have kind of, I do see some benefit to what you're thinking right now, because I do think that we've got 300,000 allocated, we still have 200,000,
Left out of that.
Left
That's
out of
what I'm
that.
saying, allocate.
and, you know, we're starting a new year, we're going to,
I agree. So then my also thought process is, Brian, you mentioned something about grant money coming in for projects, which is also gonna lessen our capital maybe, right? If we get some.
I've heard nothing about anything coming in, so that's why I'm
No,
asking.
but I mean,
It should
hopefully that
happen.
should lessen some of our capital going forward as well. Bethel just got a big one, I mean, for their solar, that was,
The roof on Ridgefield, right?
yeah,
So-
there was a big number that
Yeah.
the state gave them as a
That's what I'm
grant.
talking
So
about, too.
positively thinking that we're gonna get something back. What's the benefit of not putting this in the general fund and moving the 810 over, other than having more free cash?
Well, we could also increase, one of the things we've been trying to do is increase the reserves. A few things. One, we want to revisit that fund balance policy to see where we think we should have it now and compare to where we are, whatever other changes that we need. Two is that we could move it there in just a strategy, because we keep talking about the reserves and less debt, and that might help us with that. that we talked about 300,000 on the next slide. We're gonna talk, it's probably 75,000 more, that, but
That's
still
probably
not,
200.
not 500. that,
Right.
So those are the differences.
I'm just looking at a point is we have a chance to put money in the bank account. And there's sometimes these opportunities don't happen.
Take it when you get it.
And it's there to take, and I think strategically, we're pretty well set for some things. Now, you said the reserves, but my understanding of the reserves maybe is, didn't you calculate them out, Brian, pretty well for the reserves going forward, or are we missing something?
The unallocated reserves?
Like for
Like
field
your
reserves and
term
all
travel.
of that
Oh, yeah, yeah,
stuff, right? Didn't we?
Yes, I did calculate those out, but we could decide to start reserving some other stuff as well. Or we
Okay.
could decide to accelerate all that kind of, so right now it's in there better than it's ever been, I'll just put it that way, I don't understand.
Right, I agree,
We
that's
gotta
what I.
test it, I think this next year's coming up, we're gonna test, does this all hang, but yeah, it's in there pretty good.
All right,
So
so, go
there's
ahead.
some that we just did and we haven't started the reserves again. The turf field, at the stadium turf field, the tennis court, you've talked about other reserves that, for these big trucks and things. I don't know if that is still out there.
Not for trucks, no, but it's, there are some things that people are talking about that aren't really even in the plan. If there's a Cattigat/Town Beach strategy, that kind of a thing, there could be some things coming.
And the other one that we haven't talked about is this police station, the advanced funding that would be needed to start with they're supposed to be getting back to me on how much they need to start with. We've got money set aside for the pre-referendum services for a community center, but we don't have anything set aside for the police. So if we needed architectural drawings and things like that.
The way I understand it, to kind of be blunt, is the 800,000 and the 500,000, that's in contingency. It's not like we're spending it or we have to spend it. So if we
No,
trust
agreed.
ourselves not to spend it, or the next group not to spend it, then it's really no different. If you don't really trust and you think, oh, we got money burning a hole, or, that's my other kid, like, so we have multiple kids. Then you want to take it out and put it, you only do 500, move the, prevents you from spending it unless you do an appropriation and all that. So it puts more control over doing it. So it's a little bit of, do we see something happening and we trust ourselves, or do we want to be really careful about not spending? When do we have to decide this?
We would like to decide, so we can finish the statements, we'd like to talk about the amount. It's not a big deal if we change the amount next month, or have a different amount, that it's gonna change one number on the statements, easier enough for them to update their audit for that.
How about meet me in the middle?
So either this month, well, I don't have an opinion yet. I didn't think we had to decide today, so, so you really want to have a vote on this today, basically?
Not necessarily a vote, just an idea of what number you want me to use and.
Put 650 in there. Put 650 in there, just throw it in there for me, please. Was this the 19.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, 19.5, 19.5.
There you go. I can still do math a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So, would that get, when we have opportunities, I really like to put it in the bank. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just
make it
how.
600. I like round numbers.
The 19.5 is pretty round. That's
So 810, that's really crazy.
That's good.
19.61.
19.61.
I get it, Brian, but I just like to bank. And
Yeah,
it's
no,
just like-
I love to bank. I'd
Right?
love to put 300, but what I'm thinking of, there's just a lot of talk right now about a lot of stuff going on. The police station,
There
the
is.
solar. I mean, are we gonna actually try to do something about the roofs in Wisconsin to get solar in Wisconsin? Because it sounds like
It sounds
know,
like a lot of things, but what happens
paving.
if the
A lot of
the
things are
board
gonna
of
happen.
selectmen changes, in what direction are they gonna go
Yeah,
in?
So,
I mean, I think for the amount of money for the solar, we have got ourselves in good financial shape, we can find a few $100,000.
Yeah.
Every year, we've
Yeah.
been able to find a couple of $100,000.
If you're gonna bank something, bank at least 200, if you're not banking 200,000, why bother?
All right, then bank it.
Well, that's why it's 600 is banking 200,000.
Everybody okay with that number?
Yeah.
We've been really trying to get the general fund up. I mean, that's been in the back of our minds.
19.61 is nice.
Right,
It's a good-
and
it's
this
a
was
good-
an opportunity, I think, that
From
doesn't,
19.04
Yeah.
to 19.61, that's good.
right? It just moves us in the right direction, keeps the momentum going. In my opinion, I mean, so, all right.
All right, I will do that in the drafts,
Plus, Marcia found an extra 50,000 we weren't even counting on, right, of the revenue, with the one-time revenue. And we don't like the
195.
195, but it netted out to 50 because of the 140 on the backside.
All right,
Then there was a bunch of noise, 40 and 45, that moved it around a little bit more.
all right. All right, so I'll do that in the drafts. And then with respect to capital, you got an email from the Board of Ed about a scoreboard. It's lower than the other estimate for the scoreboard because they felt as though the softball side was okay, and I wish I would know where the scoreboard is. The softball side was okay, it's just the other side. And then a floor cleaner, there was some rumors on the floor cleaner during the capital committee that was just a shiny toy, but no, they've sent, I think they sent pictures of the it being unusable, that,
It was a rumor, there was
it
no
was
defense
said,
against
it was
that.
said,
Yes.
and Casey was appalled that it was said, because that was never the case, you know, I guess it's hard to do 50,000 square feet of floor with a mop, so,
Well,
that's.
back in my day.
You got a mop?
You
I
had
had
a
a sponge
toothbrush.
on my hand and knees. You have knees?
And then the last one is LOTSEP. Every year we apply for a LOTSEP grant, and this year we're going to apply for we hope to apply for a LOTSEP grant for the town hall campus. We've talked about that. We've tried to get it before, and we haven't gotten it. It would put a parking lot up here and extend the trails and do more handicap parking, I believe is all in the plan. That in the past, you were able to apply with a very scant drawing that, and it was about $1,500 to $2,500 that we would need to do that. They just changed the rules at Westcog that they need more drawings, a higher level, and they called it 30% of the drawings. That which is $20,000 from, it was a quote from one company, although he's getting quotes for the others. That I just Greg is watching and I'm waiting to see him tell me I've said something wrong. That that's what this LOTSEP engineering is for. That September 23rd is when we would, they're expected to open the grants, and then we would have 6 weeks after that. That is what we're estimating. So sometime in November, we would need to submit it with a drawing.
But we're still not guaranteed to work at that point, or we are
We're not guaranteed that we're gonna get the grant, no.
And we failed at this grant before?
Not this grant, we failed at other grants for this project, but I don't believe we've ever failed. This is the grant that we've been using for the streetscape, so we have a very good track record.
If it failed at the last one, I think it's always been. I know some haven't gone through, but I feel like this one has always had a good.
And what's the
track
backside cost on top of that?
Generally, we pay for engineering and they pay for everything else.
record. So we're just paying a little.
We're gambling 20,000 to get a
Correct.
hit. It's then becomes a decision out of our hands.
Although if we don't get
But
this
we'll have
one,
nice drawings.
And we could use
We could use it for
another
another-
grant. There's
yeah,
several
grant
grants that come out that,
There are several grants.
we've looked at before for this.
And Greg has a lot of experience with LATSIP, and I think does very well getting them.
Yeah, we did projects.
Um,
Brian looks, he has something
uh,
to say.
That's all right, it's not. I mean, it's a part of the, I'm off topic, apologize, part of the capital committee and the 10-year planning that we've been doing is trying to get people to be tighter and not putting in like a really high number, because we say no to really high numbers, where if you get a better number. So just as an example, the scoreboard, and you gave a good reason.
It's transposed, it was 53, it's
But
transposed
they
to
said maybe the
35.
software never said 2 scoreboards in the 53. The floor cleaner was 16.5.
It's still one scoreboard, 2 sides.
Okay, but they could have, if that was good, if it was good now, it probably was good then, kind of a thing. And this floor cleaner was 16.5, and I think it might have been the Cadillac and the, whatever, that's all. The Lexus, I don't know, it's an expensive car. And then now it's a less expensive car.
I drive a Toyota, I don't
Yeah, I
have one.
drive the 2013 something, so it doesn't matter. So I just, for those that are watching that do this stuff, we really are continuing to push on getting, don't everybody put 20-30% contingency in their estimates, because we do a lot less stuff. If those numbers were brought in during capital committee, we probably would have figured out a way to squeeze 1 or 2 of those in already. So
Well
we
said.
gotta really keep pushing on our capital planning to get quotes, be
Realistic.
tight.
Get tight.
No one ever wants to come in and say they're over, so everybody over plans 20-30%. It's not a great way to run. You don't do as much as you can with the limited money net. That's all. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. I've been saying that for years.
Okay.
The same thing, it's like you have a bucket of money, your bucket's only so full, you can
Right.
only pour it into so many glasses, so
don't.
if you can get realistic quotes, and then it's okay to go over a little bit too.
Yeah.
You know, like if you get a quote for 13 and it comes in at 13.7 or 14, that, you know, something out of control, we're gonna pay it,
Right. We're not out of
right? We need realistic numbers in order to make realistic decisions.
Right.
Yes.
And like we always have said now, and it's been a mantra of ours, is we're not reactive anymore, we're proactive. So let's get proactive, and we're gonna do projects. We're gonna manage things.
Right.
But to manage it, you gotta have the right data. So, all right.
Audit update, the auditors are here. They haven't said much because we just gave them everything on day 1, and they've just been sitting in here doing what they do. I haven't heard of any exceptions, we haven't had any issues that, so that's all good. They'll be here this week, tomorrow, and then they'll be here 3 days next week. Budget issues, no significant known changes as of now for this year. That we have little things here and there that, but nothing exciting. Any questions on any of that stuff? All right.
I think we asked them all
Thank you.
during.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything from Capital, Brian?
Just one quick minute. So we haven't met anymore. The 10-year plan is kind of set, so we're now waiting to start the new plan. As I kind of postmortem thought about the 10-year plan, I think we did a good job. I was trying to see where there are holes or things that we got to look at. The areas that are still have to be looked at a little bit more is the vehicle plan. So we did a pretty good job, but then when I got the whole vehicle list, there are a few areas where vehicles weren't replaced. So maybe they're not needed at all. So that's just something we're gonna have to tighten up. We were talking earlier today on paving, right? So there are some paving things that people have been talking about, and maybe a more comprehensive look at that. And then the third one, and this is what was in the back of my mind when I was struggling with that other chart, and I couldn't remember what it was, but I finally did. We've put a little bit of money, I think $70,000 in the next year plan for the matching content of grants, which tends to be 10 to 20%, if I'm right, Marcia, right? So we know that we're gonna likely go for phase 2 of the field strategy, and I think we'd love to have phase two be bigger than $700,000 and us putting 70%. So there might be a little bit of need within the whatever we just said, let me say 600,000, to up our grant contribution, should we start getting grants that need some matching. So that's another reason we have a little bit more protecting contingency would be good for something like that. Those are kind of the big ticket items that I can think of that, that might not have been as thoroughly vetted or needed going forward.
So paving came up today. I got a phone call about a pothole at Wisconsin that's so big, cars gotta drive around the side of the building and they're almost hitting each other.
It's a tough, I know what you're talking about.
It's a tough stretch of road, and I mentioned to Brian, like, on the capital side of this is, can we get like a scale? We have all these paving projects coming, can we go and say, we have 5 different lots we need paved, we'll do one contract, you're gonna have your equipment in town for the day, can you get us a break on the cost of this and see what we can do? You know, volume to scale. In other words, you come do one job, it's X, I gotta move my equipment, windshield time, I'm driving an hour down, I'm driving an hour back. This way, can we scale? And I have no idea if I'm right, wrong, or if this is even possible. Or to speak to the company that does our town roads even, and say, hey, you know, if you're in this area, what would it cost us to add Wisconsin parking lot in? And I'm only using Wisconsin as an example. I mean, I don't know
I mean, a lot
the
of it got-
details or the
that-
ins and outs.
That back stretch that didn't get done, but the rest of the parking lot actually is
Right.
done by Wednesday.
There's about 5 areas that people talked about. I'm sure if we asked, there'd probably be a couple more that would pop up that just people haven't dared to bring
So,
up.
making it to scale, would we get a better deal on this? Or doing it, like Brian mentioned, it's cheaper in the fall sometimes. I mean, can we figure out a way to make it cheaper? I don't have an answer, I don't know, but
And with respect to the roads and the public works and the parking lots, that Ralph at one of the capital committee meetings said that although it seems this is similar, that they're both paving, they're very different because of the slope and
the
things like
substructure and
that,
everything
that,
else, yes.
So that usually the road companies do not do the parking lot
Perfect.
stuff. But as far as combining parking lots, that I don't know.
Right, roads have a better subsurface than the parking lots, and that's why they don't have
The
to
road
pop up.
behind the high school, kind of getting racked back by the tennis courts, that's on the list. The road by the
Right.
park down by Lake Winona is on the list.
So when you do a bunch of one-offs, generally you pay more than if you put 10 of them together, you're gonna get
So we
the
get a comprehensive list and see, do you get a
scale to volume.
discount?
Exactly.
Okay.
And if we do get that scale to volume, do we pull the trigger
Right.
and say, hey, instead of 1 in 2026, 3 here and 4 there, if we did it all at once, what could we save?
I'll get that on the capital.
And I will say that when the school last time did their paving, they did save it up over 3 years. That and then did it all at one time. So I think they put 150,000 aside a year for 3 years, and did it all at once.
That's another, that area we might decide to reserve.
Yeah, I mean, we just need the big picture and then figure it out, like we have
No, but
with
if
most
there's a-
things, right?
I think one part of it is also the need and the urgency of it, if that hole is really bad.
I don't know the
Fix the
extent
hole.
yet, I don't know, but I'm just saying, can we look at this as a
Yes,
group? And can we look at this as,
Absolutely.
as, if we save one road in the volume of this, we've saved X amount of dollars, it
Right.
just makes sense.
I'll get that on the capital committee
Yeah.
Perfect,
list once that.
perfect, so that's what we had talked about today, I was like, maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't, I'm not an expert. All right, anything else, are you concluded?
I'm concluded.
All right.
Well, we enjoy the
Internal
pictures
Service
every
Fund, we
time.
keep passing on that, and I'm gonna say November 5th, be ready. I'm giving y'all, not, November 5th, we're gonna have our last meeting,
That's
that's it, the last meeting,
That's gonna be, is it really?
November
It's not,
5th.
it'll be the second Wednesday, just by,
Isn't it?
The second one's 6/12.
Oh, the 12th, November 12th, my bad, November 12th is our last meeting. We're gonna be ready for that and get it done, we have 2 months. Solar energy, I don't know, I've had it on here to talk about, but Steve's not really here to update us where we are. I think they approved it as a Board of Selectmen to move it forward.
yeah, it sounded to me, I watched, I mean, to kind of keep the options open, it's not really a commit, but it allows us to capture the grant or whatever it's called.
So a good, better update for that. Transfers, do we need to make any?
No, because we didn't have a selectmen's meeting that approved any, so they'll be next month.
Got it.
We had other items, I don't think we have any other items to come before us right now. We were gonna go into executive session, to discuss some legal matters with CLES and then the school, where we stand, but since Steve's not here, it doesn't make sense, but Brian did a walkthrough and maybe he can
Yeah, I'll try
pass
to,
on what he saw.
you know, I'm gonna maybe go a little slow, because I wanna make sure I don't say anything that delves into legal, but, so, everything everybody knows that CLS is being used and up and running, and there's still some final remaining issues, and there's disagreement between O&G, the general contractor, and the town as to how that's going to be resolved, right? So, that might move to some form of a legal resolution, I don't know, arbitration mediation, who knows, right? So I don't know much about that, I'm not gonna comment on that, I think Steve would know more. But Steve wanted us to be aware that this is going on and what the issues were. So, I guess it was last week, Paul Checo took myself and Rose actually, we spent about 45 minutes going around. So I'm gonna talk in big picture numbers, this is Paul kind of giving the lay of the land, okay? The two big numbers are, and this is all round, is that I think we still owe O&G around $4 million, and they still have about 1.3 million in contingency. And if I get my numbers wrong, you know,
You got it
correct me. That we think they probably don't need, and they probably say they do need. So that's the size of the amount of money that could get moved around. Paul's view is the remaining issues are somewhere north of $2 million. Okay, and I'm using mostly numbers he said, so that, you
Yeah,
know,
that's,
roughly 80% of that is actually outside. So, and I sent, you might wanna bring them up if you want to, I took 6 pictures or something while I was there. But there are kind of like 3 major outside issues. The first is, a lot of the grounds were supposed to be topsoil with, you know, grass on them, right? Pretty straightforward. And the soil, there's a dispute as to whether the soil is topsoil. But if you look at the pictures, my uneducated, non-engineering view of the definition of topsoil, you couldn't grow grass on this stuff if you tried. You know, it's you know, if I had to guess topsoil or cement, I'd probably go with cement. But, you know, so this is the entire fields, all of the grass around the back of the building, it's really bad. I mean, it has to be remediated. And Paul said that's in the order, over $1 million, 1.2, who knows? He hasn't gotten it really sized, but that's the biggest chunk of this. The second is, not all, there's you know, hundreds of windows in this place, and you know, the building is brick or whatever, and the windows are put in, and there's gaps of like an inch around the windows, every window. It's like not finished. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. So that has to.
you can stick your finger in there.
Oh, easy. You could stick, yeah, I mean, a couple fingers in. And the sills, they might have been painted, but the paint's come off and they're already warping. It's just regular untreated wood. So the windows are like I mean, the windows themselves are fine, but the casings, or whatever you wanna call it, are a mess. So that's a big chunk of money there. What was the third thing outside?
The floor.
Well, that's inside.
Oh.
The third one, I don't think it's a large dollar amount, but in the play areas, they put gravel down and they put mulch on top, but they didn't put a separation barrier between them. So now the gravel is migrating up through the mulch. So now kids are playing on the mulch, and
You got your pictures.
that is topsoil. Both of those pictures are pictures of topsoil.
That did not look good.
Go to the one before, so that, yeah, those are 3 pictures. So that one is, the far left is the front field. The middle one is part of that front field, and the back is this road that goes all the way all around the school. So the little whatever they're trapezoidal things are supposed to be there, and grass is supposed to go through. But you can see it's just like, it's almost like cement in there. So it's I mean, Paul's talking about putting artificial turf instead of grass in or something as a solution. I don't know. But anyway, that is, look, the layperson would say that is not topsoil.
Correct.
And that is not grass. So that's pretty
Can't
straightforward.
move that.
thank you. And then if you go up, there's just, every window looks like that, right? Nice brick building, nice window, and just completely unfinished. And 200 windows like that.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a mess. I didn't take a picture of the mulch, but the mulch has, so they gotta
Yeah.
pull all the mulch up,
Yeah.
put a barrier down, and then pull the
You
mulch
can
back.
see here too, more gaps.
Yeah, they just, look at that. It's just a mess.
That's embarrassing.
So that's the outside stuff, which is a lot of dollars, but it's three things.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it needs to be fixed, you know, you can't have kids running on cement, they're gonna fall, scrape their knees, you know, not
Yeah.
gonna die, but it's gonna hurt them. So that's gotta be fixed. And then on the inside, the redoing the gym floor, so there's debate, we're doing it ourselves, supposedly it's costing about 250,000 per pole, and they should have fixed it, but the floor is not level to the contracted definition of level. You know, it's not like it's a huge slope, but, you know, he said he was putting on it in the, you know, public curb and all that. So they're fixing it now for around 250,000, we're gonna, there's a debate as to whether or not it was flat enough, but it looks like it wasn't to contract. And then the only, then there's a bunch of quasi punch list stuff. Some people would call it punch list, some people would call it, they just didn't execute the contract. Like he was showing the panels on the side of the wall have a you know, perpendicular edge, and they were supposed to be kind of, yeah, and that's supposed to be like, what do you call it, like sanded off almost so that they were, I don't know, you know, instead of this, they're supposed to look like, sorry, instead of like, they're supposed to be, they look like that,
roundels.
but they're supposed
Roundels.
to kind of be, yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And the contract says it should be like that, so
Yeah.
if you didn't know what the contract was like, they'd say that's fine, but it's,
Yeah.
so he said between all of this stuff, it's, you know, call it $500,000, that kind of stuff, and he
Yeah.
pulls a panel, and the panel just kind of comes off the wall, it's on, but it's not on very good, so
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff they should just come fix.
It wasn't a cheap school.
Yeah, so, you know, it doesn't,
Yeah.
so all that
Last
ended up,
40 years.
it could be somewhat over $2 million to fix that, who knows exactly, but that, so, how does that get resolved? We're kind of getting to the point where it sounds like we're not really talking anymore, and they're saying everything is fine, and we're saying clearly it's not. So something will happen, and I think Steve wanted to talk about that. I don't know anything about that, so I think that's the end of that conversation, unless you have any questions on it.
No, that.
Well, thanks for taking the pictures.
Yeah.
I trusted
My pleasure.
whatever you came back with, but because I couldn't make it
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah,
but-
no worries.
Yeah,
no worries.
that helps.
Wow.
Okay, so that's, Steve wanted to make sure we were aware as things start moving forward, so I'm sure we'll talk about it next week.
But now it's sort of at the next level out of our hands, actually. In a way.
And supposedly on the 15th, OG is supposed to come back with some proposal, but I think there's been false starts on that kind of front many times, so I don't know the confidence level that something's gonna come back with.
Okay.
Okay, that was that.
Anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Next month I won't be here, so y'all got it. No public comment, so I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.